In the quiet countryside of colonial Virginia, in 1732, a child was born who would one day carry the weight of a revolution on his shoulders. George Washington did not come from royalty or extreme wealth, but from a modest plantation family. From an early age, he learned discipline, responsibility, and resilience qualities that would later define his leadership. Washington's father died when he was just 11 years old, without the opportunity for formal higher education like many of his contemporaries. He educates himself through relentless self-study and practical experience. As a young surveyor, he ventured into the dangerous and untamed American frontier, learning survival, negotiation, and leadership. His early military career began during the French and Indian War. Though ambitious, Washington made critical mistakes that led to defeat and embarrassment. At Fort Necessity, he was forced to surrender. Many might have allowed failure to define them, but Washington allowed it to refine him. He learned caution, patience, and the importance of preparation. As tensions grew between the American colonies and Great Britain, colonial frustration intensified over taxation and lack of representation. Events such as the Boston Tea Party ignited open resistance. When war became inevitable, the Continental Congress appointed Washington as Commander-in-Chief of the Continental Army in 1775. He was not chosen because he was the most brilliant strategist of his time, but because he embodied unity, integrity, and steadfast resolve. The American Revolutionary War was far from a guaranteed success. Washington faced a powerful British army, better trained, better equipped, and supported by the greatest empire of the era. His soldiers were often hungry, poorly clothed, and unpaid. The winter at Valley Forge in 1777 to 1778 marked one of the darkest chapters of the war. Thousands of soldiers suffered from disease, cold, and starvation. Many deserted. Morale collapsed. Washington himself endured immense emotional strain, questioning whether the fragile dream of independence could survive. One of the most decisive turning points came on Christmas night in 1776. In a bold and risky move, Washington led his troops across the icy Delaware River to surprise Hessian forces at Trenton. The victory at the Battle of Trenton revived American morale and proved that the Continental Army could defeat a professional European force. But the ultimate transformation of the war came years later at the Battle of Yorktown in 1781. With French support, Washington successfully trapped British General Cornwallis, forcing his surrender. This victory effectively ended major combat operations and secured American independence. Victory did not mean peace of mind. Washington's greatest test was not on the battlefield, but in power itself. After the war, many expected him to become a king. Some officers even suggested establishing a monarchy. Yet Washington shocked the world. He voluntarily resigned his military commission in 1783 and returned to private life. In an age where leaders clung to authority, he surrendered it. Later, in 1789, he was unanimously elected as the first president of the United States. As president, he faced the immense challenge of turning a fragile experiment into a functioning government. The Constitution was new. The economy was unstable. Political divisions were forming rapidly. Through steady leadership, he set critical precedents: peaceful transfer of power, a two-term limit, neutrality in foreign conflicts that shaped the identity of the new republic. Washington's life was not free from personal hardship. He and his wife, Martha Washington, never had children together. He endured constant political criticism and factional attacks during his presidency. Behind his composed public image was a man deeply aware of the fragile future of his country. He carried the anxiety of knowing that one wrong decision could cause the entire republic to collapse. In 1797, Washington stepped down after 2 terms, establishing a tradition that lasted until the era of Franklin D. Roosevelt. His farewell address warned against political parties and foreign entanglements, advice that remains relevant centuries later. He died in 1799 at his beloved estate of Mount Vernon, leaving behind not wealth or dynasties, but something far greater: a nation founded on principles rather than personality. The story of George Washington is not simply the story of a general or a president. It is the story of restraint in the face of power, courage in the face of overwhelming odds, and character in moments of uncertainty. His greatest victory was not defeating the British Empire, it was defeating the temptation to become what he had fought against: True leadership is not about seizing power. It is about knowing when to let it go. Washington's life teaches us that nations are built not only by ambition, but by sacrifice, discipline, and moral conviction. And sometimes, the most revolutionary act in history is choosing humility over dominance.